Okay, this is Heather with my mentor Chelsea, and we are on Unit 11, Leadership and Collaboration.
Mhm.
So, some of those things. Candidates understand the importance of providing leadership for student learning and collaborating with families and professionals to ensure student growth and advance of the profession. Candidates seek appropriate leadership roles and opportunities to take responsibility for student learning and to collaborate with students, families, colleagues, and other professionals to ensure student growth and advance the profession. This is really hard for me because I only have 3 colleagues who speak English. However, I work very directly with all of them, so it is good to get some feedback, and sometimes they have a greater understanding of if I've planned something and it looks too hard or too easy for the students. They can kind of give me a heads up and be like, could we let's take it down or step it up, and so I can work with them in terms of that. The other way I can collaborate with colleagues is with other foreign teachers that are in my city or district. And again, we've mentioned this a lot, but there are a lot of Facebook groups and websites that we can go to find different lesson plans that have worked for other teachers, or to ask questions or get advice, maybe access to different materials. I've posted a lot of my really successful lesson plans on both Facebook groups and on websites to help other teachers, which has been really great. Collaborating with families is pretty non-existent because of the obvious language barrier. Collaborating with students happens fairly often. It makes it harder because of the language barrier, but when I'm able to get them in smaller groups, like with my winter camps or my English clubs or different events and activities, it's really fun. Every year I perform in the school festival with my students, and we're always, either developing a dance together or writing skits together. And even though, a dance isn't performing in English, to create a dance together, to collaborate a dance together, there's a lot of speaking. So
I've heard about your dances for years, actually. My academy students would be so excited about when they were practicing with Heather teacher, and then I always got to see the video after. Yeah, and there was one year when the video was seriously delayed, and I was like, where is the video? And my student's friend just failed.
Aww.
So we got it off Facebook a couple weeks later, but
it's on YouTube as well. So there's that.
They love that though. I've always heard really good things about the making a dance with you.
Yeah, and it's fun, and unfortunately, very, very few teachers perform in the school festival, but I'm the only one that performs with the students. So it is fun. I enjoy that a lot. And collaborating with my global English club has been a lot of fun. Like I mentioned before, my Christmas party, my annual Christmas party, the first one I did, I paid for everything myself, and the kids had to come in and buy snacks and pay to make a Christmas card, and it was really, really fun. But I've been really lucky now that I have this global club, and it comes with a budget, so we can use that budget instead of mine. And I get to collaborate more with the students and come up with different fun games that can include English, but that anybody can play, so people don't feel excluded or intimidated. And planning, what kind of snacks or activities or the craft that we're gonna do. So collaborating in that way, and collaborating with other professionals. I guess that's pretty similar to the Facebook group that we have here, because teaching in Korea as an English teacher is pretty specific. But being in Teach Now has also really, I feel like I'm almost a whole teacher. So collaborating with people in my cohort, or previous or now some who are in the past that are doing it, who friends of mine have just started the program, and answering their questions and getting to work with them and talk with them has been also really fun. I feel like I'm finally getting a network of teachers, which in Korea can be really hard because people aren't here very long, and generally they're not here to become a teacher as a career. So those are some of the ways that I collaborate. And does the candidate understand his/her responsibility for supporting the school's mission? So I try to the best of my ability to exceed what my students, co-teachers, administrators, and district administrators expect of me. To do so, I make myself available to my students as much as possible. I'm always willing to talk to them, participate at any and all events and activities that I can go to, and I generally have a warm and approachable manner. I know my role in Korea and as an English teacher comes with a lot of responsibility. Often I am one of the few foreigners my students have ever met, and so it's important to leave a good impression. Not only do I keep the door to their interest in English, but also to create a positive rapport for them and foreign people, places, and cultures. I think while teaching English is, I suppose, my main job, I think that it's equally as important that I come in and that they feel welcome and not intimidated by foreigners or by English or our culture. And to me, I feel like that's what my mission in Korea is. My administrators at my school and my coworkers have always said that I have a really good relationship with my students and that I'm always willing to talk to them, that I never turn them away, and I'm always willing to participate. And as far as my school's mission goes, that's how I fit into it. Those are the things that they want out of a foreign teacher, and I feel like that's what they are getting.
I feel like you more than match that. Actually, I've noticed every time I've been at your school, it doesn't matter if it's class time. There's always students coming in to see you. You want to tell you little things. Some of them come to see me too. But it's just one more foreigner, one more American, and we really are ambassadors of our country here. So it's a big deal that you really come off well. So
yeah, I think so, and it's oftentimes it can be really hard to remember that because I meet Koreans every day, and I'm very overwhelmed by Koreans almost every day. So to me, it's just very old news, as I'm sure you know. But to them, it's kind of their first time. It's someone's first time almost every day, and it's really hard to not let that get to you when you're having a bad day. But I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I also have to keep in mind that wow, this is my 1,000th time. It could be just their first, and so it's important to keep those things in mind. And when I came to Korea, the teacher that was here before me was not welcoming to the students and would tell them they would come in and he'd tell them it's not class time and to go away, and wasn't very friendly or open to the students. And so I think that's something that they really wanted in the beginning. And I don't think they fully understood what that could look like, because I think they're really happy with what I've built, which it took a really long time because it took a long time because they were used to having someone who would turn them away. And I've seen how that can really hurt the students' ability to be interested in English, which can really shape a large part of their lives.
No lie, we have the same experiences when we try to speak Korean and get laughed at or ignored. Those feelings, whether we're a teenager or an adult, no one likes to be turned away.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've said it in other reviews of your work that the students love your class. So I was so excited to come in. That's a really awesome thing.
They're good kids. And then, did the candidate demonstrate a respect for families' beliefs, norms, and expectations as they work with the students and families? And again, with the families, there's very little interaction. I'm hoping in the future there will be more where I'm teaching at an international school next year, hopefully. I still think there will be some of a language barrier, so I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I'm sure it will probably be better than it is now. I hope. And I am looking forward to that. Something that was really fun, I very seldom get to interact with the families except for possibly at graduation, which I've memorized the phrase, "Your daughter's so smart, I love your daughter," something like that, so that I can just say something. And a lot of the kids do like to introduce me, although I think it intimidates them because they're worried they'll have to show off their English. But recently we had an open class where Korean teachers and the parents are invited to come and watch. And this year I had 5 parents who came in, and at the end, I just went over and said, like, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy it. It was nice to meet you. And one of the moms who spoke pretty good English, like, talked to me for like 5 minutes. I think that's the most I've ever talked with one of my students' parents before, and it was really fun. And I wish I had the opportunity for that more. I wish I could meet more of them, but it was really fun to get to talk to her. I wish I could have more interaction with that.
Have you never had parents at an open class before?
I have, but none of them have talked to me.
Wow.
Well, or they like smile and say hello and introduce themselves, but usually no. And for some reason at this one I think they were filling out like surveys or like a, what's that called? Report? Where you like talk about what you just watched.
Isn't that a survey?
Is it?
Questionnaire?
Like a report, like a questionnaire, like a report, like what did the teacher do well? Is that, yeah, like that? I guess that's a survey. Evaluation. What we're doing now.
Right.
That's it.
We're English teachers.
Yeah.
Vocabulary.
Yes, they were filling out. I think they were filling out evaluation, so they like lingered in my room, and my co-teacher left, so it was just me and these 5 parents in silence. It was really awkward actually. So I went over to say hello and like say nice to meet them and stuff, and then that's when it happened. But that's the first time it had ever happened, which was really cool.
Wow, that would be a unique experience.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to having a little more interaction in the future. So that'd be good. And then so a respect for the beliefs, norms, and expectations as they work. I feel like I respect it for the most part, and if I don't necessarily respect an aspect of something, it's not something I tell the students about. There's certainly lots of things about the Korean culture, beliefs, or system, especially education system, that I don't agree with or don't respect, but that's not something that I make a point to bring up to students, which I think has a place in time.
Definitely. Definitely.
And then, does the candidate support and advocate for students? And we were just talking about this, that one of the things I feel like, I've talked about this actually in my Teach Now a lot. One of my coworkers is extremely strict with the students, way more than she needs to be. And in my class, I just presented a case study for one of my students who I think has a learning or behavior disorder, and that she will get disruptive in class, and my co-teacher will just like get really angry, and it disrupts the entire class rather than the 1 or 2 that she was disrupting. And I've rearranged the desk and have this girl sitting in front of me now. So anytime she gets a little bit weird, I can like tap her on the shoulder, or gets crazy, and I can just be like, Chrissy, focus. And she's really smart and speaks pretty well. She has a really high level of English, but I think she's not challenged enough. So by having her in the front, if someone else can't translate, I can be like, Chrissy, go, or anything. So it kind of has made her more of a leader role. But one of the main reasons I decided to move her closest to me is so that I could kind of be a barrier or a buffer between her and my co-teacher. Because I find that what my co-teacher does is more disruptive than anything the student has done. And it's unfortunate because in Korea, the hierarchy can make it really difficult for you to point out any mistakes or concerns or suggestions to anyone that's older than you, which I've heard in my Teach Now that quite a few people have that problem in a lot of cultures. And so I've had to be somewhat passive aggressive about it. But that's one example of my being passive aggressive. And then recently in my global club, last year I did it alone, but this year I've been doing it with her, and she has for some reason it's obligatory that she comes to every one of our meetings and our get-togethers, whereas before it wasn't obligatory with a different coworker. And so she'll come, but when the kids, something I rely on is that the kids have no one to translate for them. So they either have to rely on themselves or each other, or body language, or asking me again, and somehow we find a way to communicate, which I find is key, even if it's not always in English, and even if it's not in perfect English. Just being willing to try and not just rely on someone else. It's a handicap if someone is always there to translate for you. And I've said this to her as plainly and as simply as I can without being aggressive or offensive, and it hasn't made much of a difference. And then recently she commented that it seemed that the principal was worried because it seemed like we were doing too many fun things and not enough like English study things, and that we should do a skit together. And I was kind of having a hard day anyways, and I told her, I said, I'm happy to do that, although now that our Christmas party's coming, we have a lot to do to prepare for that, so I don't have time to do a skit so we can take pictures of it. So I told her, I said, some advice for the next time is that if you want to be there, you need to not translate for the students. And as much as I love having her there, it hinders their ability, and I don't see them building that confidence. And part of that club is that the kids can do anything, we can do anything as long as it's in English. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if we're planning a party or if we're doing a craft or if we're playing a card game, the point is that it's all in English. And I personally believe that some of the best times you can learn is by not studying, but just by doing and being a part of something. I kind of consider it as tricking someone into learning or entertaining someone into learning, I guess sounds better. But I explained this to her, and then the next time we met, she followed through, and anytime someone had a question or didn't understand, she'd say, okay, ask her again, okay? Like, ask her again, Heather, can you explain it one more time? And I really, like, when this one student in particular was continuously having to ask me, but eventually we always understood each other, and you could really see, like, when she got it, she'd be like, I got it. Like, you could see it, and I really think that my co-teacher saw what I was talking about. I really hope so, because in a lot of ways I feel like that's me advocating for my students and trying to get them to have a more meaningful experience with English rather than just writing down a script and performing it, or memorizing words or reading a story or studying from the book. Making it a more memorable and personal experience. So I hope my co-teachers can kind of see what a difference that can make. And even though it goes a little bit against Korean general traditional learning style, I hope that can continue in the future, even if I'm not there.
I would hope so as well. I don't really see it, but I would hope so.
Yeah. We'll see. Slow changes.
I find that the Korean that I remember most is always the Korean that, like, I learned it, I wrote it down, I used it. But, like, there are some words that my husband says, and I'll look at him with, like, a blank look, and he'll tell me the English. And then, like, the next day, it's the same frickin' word that I do not remember. Because I didn't make the effort to, like, look it up, to, like, find it, to try to understand him in another way. So there isn't, like, that mental link. I didn't activate that part.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so activation is key. Mm-hmm. So, anything else?
No, that's all I had written down. Good.
Yeah.